Ladies and gentlemen, good evening once again. We have a very important announcement. Somebody lost a set of keys. These are a Genesis vehicle. They were left somewhere, so we have it for you, and they were from downstairs. Okay, if you were downstairs and you left your keys somewhere, if not, we're going to auction it off, and we'll make sure we get a pretty good price for it. So please come up here as soon as you can if you have a Genesis. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome and thank you for being here supporting the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. Shh. We have a very nice program in store for you. And we want to begin by acknowledging our past inductees who have been tremendous in everything they've done for the Hall of Fame, beginning with former president for 19 years. Please welcome Dave Andrews. 2024 inductee, Tom Churchetta. Also in 2024, we welcome inductee Rachel Garrett. Okay. Thank you, Rachel. From 2018, Vince Niedermeyer. Come on, Vince. Fellow classmate of Vince, Curtis Miller. From 2016, Jennifer Shingler Hansberry, along with 2002 inductee Art Tannehill. Come on down, you two. (2014) inductee Dave Patterson. A big Hannah Storm fan. See that right here. Thanks, Art. 2012 inductee Don Appleman. From 2010, we welcome inductee Bill Huber. (2006) inductee Tom Irwin. (1998) inductee Lisa Shover. (1998) inductee Mike Irwin. How about a nice hand, ladies and gentlemen, for our past inductees? We appreciate what they do. So once again, I want to reintroduce myself. Bob Pompiani is my name from KDKA. I've been there now for 45 years, which seems like an eternity, but that's, if you're in this business, it's kind of a love of what you do. And if you love sports the way I do, I'm sure the way Hannah does, and everyone who gets involved in this business, you really do love it. My path to this area was not that clear, however. I wanted to be a golfer, and for those of you who are new to this banquet, I came here last year or 2 years ago for the very first time. Stan Savern, who was a very good friend of mine and someone I looked up to my entire career, had passed away. He had always told me about Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. So when Neil asked me to fill in and do that after he passed away, it was quite an honor for me and a very emotional one. But, you know, growing up, I wanted to be a golfer. My name is Pompiani. I even went so far as to think I'd change my name. My middle name is Greg. And I thought announcers would butcher that name, so I'm going to change it to Bobby Gregg. That makes sense, right, if I become successful. So I had a golf scholarship. I was doing very well. And then out of the blue, I get strep throat, which turns into rheumatic heart disease, which turns into back-to-back open heart surgeries. And so everything in my life changed. And at that point, I was 17 when I first heard of this, and I had the first operation. Back then, it was not cutting-edge stuff. You know, like any young person, I was a little derailed by that. But my parents made it very clear to me that this is God's way. He knows you're not going to win golf tournaments, and so he's sending you on a different path. which could very well have been the situation. So my father said, make sure you get involved. You love sports, do sports. So I started doing that, had an internship, got hired out of it, and been there ever since. So sports is what we're here to celebrate tonight. And everything that can emerge from sports will be on display here tonight, because I think everyone has a story. Everyone here has developed relationships through sports. Sports has the ability to unite people, no matter who you are. We're seeing that in Pittsburgh now with the Penguins, who out of last 3 years did not make the playoffs. Suddenly this year put together an unbelievable season, even though they lost today. But they've clinched a playoff spot for the first time in 4 years. And as a result, people are very excited about that. Same, hopefully, could be said for the Pirates, who did win today in 11 innings. So they're off to a 9-5 start. And if they get to the postseason, you'll see what it does as far as galvanizing a community. It doesn't really matter who you are, what you do, where you come from. When sports is involved in the community, it brings people together, because you're on the same team at that point. I also believe many people here we honor tonight have been involved in individual advancement through a team advancement. That development includes discipline, the ability to deal with adversity, which comes in sports all the time. Everyone has to learn how to handle adversity if you're going to be successful in sports. And we certainly have a lot of people up here who know that. They've been through that. They've lived that. I have long believed myself personally that discipline is the strongest form of self-love. The only thing that limits you is your own belief. If you don't think you'll do it, you won't do it. Conversely, it works the other way as well. So discipline then becomes ingrained in your character. It fosters habits. The habits include excellence, integrity, perseverance, all the things you need to do, not just in sports, but in life as well. And that ripple will go through your entire life. Discipline breeds confidence, knowing that you have the ability to overcome the temptations that are out there, the distractions that are out there. You believe in your best version of yourself, even when nobody else may. It makes a big difference. You fight for that dream. So I remember doing an interview. Hannah, you've interviewed a whole bunch of people, so you probably had this experience. Michael Jordan was in town for the Mario Lemieux Celebrity Invitational, so we did an interview. Very intimidating guy, good golfer, I can tell you that. Good poker player, I can also tell you that. Took Trent Dilfer's money, like $50,000. No, I'm talking too much. I shouldn't do that. But he told me, and I found this very interesting, that he missed more than 9,000 shots in his career, that he lost over 300 games in his career. And 26 times he was put in a position to take the game-winning shot and missed. But he said that because all those failures led him to be the person he is. So that's what sports is all about. We're going to be celebrating a lot of the accomplishments of the people you see on this dais. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce the man who has made this really something of a passion. This is not an easy thing to do, to bring together this many people, to get as many people up here, and do all the advanced work that the president of the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame has done. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Neil Rudell.
Thank you, Bob. I know Stan Saverin well enough. I knew him well enough to know that he's glad you're here, and so are we. And how about a quick shout out to Chef Tom and the Convention Center staff. They served 800 hot meals in 15 minutes, so they could run our 2-minute drill. Whenever the Hall of Fame convenes every 2 years, it's special. And on behalf of our executive committee, Brian Irwin, Lisa Georgiana, Chris Michaelone, and Kathy Millward, our board of directors, selection, and scholarship committees, thank you so much for your support. It takes a village, but 2 members of that Hall of Fame village deserve special recognition, and that's Kathy for all she's done to keep us on track, and Tom Worthington II for his gifted touch on the faces and for designing the program booklet. Can you both please stand, Kathy and Tommy? Thank you. I also want to thank Susan Fries for her coordination of our advertising and all of our corporate sponsors. Before we move forward tonight, we need to look back. Since we last came together, the Hall of Fame family has endured notable losses with the passing of inductees Buddy Geis, Dick Johnston, and Steve Tannehill particularly too soon. They were followed by Steve Sheets, our first president, whose support and fingerprints remain all over the Hall of Fame and will always. And Jim Lane, our first Lifetime Achievement winner and an Altoona Mirror and community legend. We're pleased to have their families present tonight. Thank you. But as we know they would want us to, we move forward. We congratulate our 5 new inductees, our Lady Lion teams, and thanks to Jamie Millward for her help in coordinating, our scholarship winners, and our Lifetime Award recipient, Bob Moore. A warm welcome, too, to ESPN fixture Hannah Storm, a Notre Dame graduate, by the way. To get more of a glimpse of the Hall of Fame, please check out our website, designed and maintained by Matt Clapper and James Henderson of easytouse.com, or stop by the Summit Tennis and Athletic Center, our partner, which has been the perfect home to our memorabilia, where you can see some really cool stuff, like Ward McClanahan's 1903 Yale track jersey, the NBA jerseys worn by Doug West and Johnny Moore, and Blaine Aaron's 1952 Detroit Lions championship jacket, just to name a few. And we've recently made a few updates as well. So here we go. We've all taken the Billy Conn oath, if you know, you know, and here's to another memorable evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Good way to kick things off. And we have a loaded dais and a loaded night here of some tremendous people that we will introduce to you. But first, it's always nice when you have an opportunity to recognize young people, because honestly, that's the future. We got young people here, and you're going to rely on what they do as we carry on. And we are very delighted to have 2 scholarship winners here tonight. And to do the honors and present their scholarships, please welcome 6'9" Corey Tubo from Mercyhurst, and I hope I can recruit you to be the center of my basketball team.
Okay, good evening. On behalf of Reliance Bank, I want to congratulate all of tonight's inductees into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, and of course our 2 outstanding scholarship winners. First up, we have Zaylin Wynn Moore from Altoona Area High School. Zaylin is a Lady Lions standout athlete in basketball and soccer, serving as a team captain for both teams. This past season, she led Altoona to its 4th consecutive District 6 championship and made it all the way to the semifinals of the PIAA tournament. Her head coach, Chris Flegel, describes Zay as the ultimate leader. Not only is she a gifted athlete, she ranks 11th in her class of 440 with a 98 grade point average. Zay, yes, please. Zay is Altoona's senior class president and president of the National Honor Society. In her spare time, she serves as a student tutor and volunteers at several local nonprofits. Zay is the daughter of Ann Wynn and Daryl Moore, and she's set to play Division II basketball at Clarion this fall. I'll turn it over to Zay.
Hello, everyone. I just want to start by saying I'm honored to be standing up here accepting this award tonight. I am exceptionally grateful to be in the presence of a group of such prestigious and influential individuals. Today, I take this opportunity I am given to highlight the gratitude I have for being a student athlete at Altoona Area High School amongst the Blair County community. I've chosen to use this time I'm given today not to tell you guys how hard I work or how dedicated of an athlete I am or all the other reasons that people succeed in their athletics. But I decided to give you some of my reasons why. This summer, I had thought that life may be easier without all the extra pressure, stress, and worry like all athletes do. But every time I thought about giving up, I remembered how many people have sacrificed themselves for me to be standing here today. I think about the multiple jobs my mom and dad have had to work over the years to allow me to play AAU, or the times my mom would drive up day in and day out just to watch my games and then go home and go back to work, or the multiple times my dad woke up at 5 a.m. to train me, and my pap coming to every game no matter the outcome, whether we win by 30 or lose by 30. And my Nana, who unfortunately can't be here tonight, but she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She would give anything in the world to walk up and down the court as many times as I can run. My sisters, who have been through it all with me, are my backbone. They're here tonight, and they're the strongest women I know. And my aunt and uncle, who are sitting here today, they show up for me on every account of life. And unfortunately, all the other loved ones that I have at home that aren't here with us tonight, I thank them as well. These are some of the reasons why I choose to be who I am today. They're the reasons I choose to use my privilege I am given to make the best out of every opportunity I've been gifted. I do it for the people that have invested in me no matter what, circumstances, outcome, everything. My coach shared a note with me the other day that I would like to share with you all. And it just highlights the importance of giving grace to those around us and using your compassion to embody something special. I believe that this is our purpose on life. I extend this gratitude to the people who have made my experience extra exceptional within the Altoona community. Our AD, which is here tonight, Mr. Riccio, my basketball coach, Chris Flegel, my soccer coach, Mark Fry, and every other coach who have helped me along the way. Thank you all for pushing me to greatness day in and day out. In sight of this award, I would like to take a moment to commemorate the history that stands behind Blair County and how privileged I am to be a part of such excellence, especially the basketball teams that were brought in today. It's not every day that you get to speak to a room full of such important people that have made such a great difference in the world. With that in mind, I'd like to thank you all for the time given and the opportunity, and congratulate Jake for being the other award winner. Thank you.
I told you they were impressive. Next up, we have Jake Kissel from Bishop Guilfoyle. Jake is an outstanding multi-sport athlete. He's a 3-year letter winner in football and basketball, contributing to a state championship as a junior and a runner-up finish in 2025. He's a 2-time All-State selection in football and a quarterback and defensive back. As talented as he was on the gridiron, he was equally impressive on the basketball court. Jake is ranked 16th in BG's senior class and maintained a grade point average of 95. He's a member of the National Honor Society and Future Business Leaders of America and serves as president of BG's Student Council. He also volunteers at St. Vincent de Paul and Mount Carmel and serves as a youth basketball instructor. He's the son of April and Kirk Kissel, and he plans to play football at Villanova this fall. Jake.
Hello, everyone. I'm probably not going to be able to replicate what Zay did. That was amazing. But first of all, I want to thank Mr. Riddell and Mr. Tubo for giving me this opportunity and being able to receive the scholarship. I have immense gratitude for everyone here and making this amazing event. It's amazing to be a part of it. I first want to thank BG. You know, Bishop Guilfoyle, it means so much to me. It's who I am, and it's been around my entire life, you know, with Coach Wheeler being my uncle, going to all those state championship games in 14, 15, and 16, and wanted to be one of those guys, and being able to replicate that was truly special. I want to thank Mr. Crashati and Dr. Gilday and Miss Georgiana and Mr. Labriola, Mr. Landolfi, everyone that selected me from BG to be in the voting process for this and being able to win it. I can't do anything without BG, and I'm forever grateful for that. I want to thank my family. You know, I have a lot of family here. Krista Ream, she's a family member of mine. She's getting inducted. She's on she's on both of the Altoona teams, and you know, we have tons of family members here. The greatest family in the world. I can't do anything without them on both my mom and dad's side. My mom and dad have done everything for me, given me everything in life that I've needed, and went through thick and thin to be the man that I am today. I want to thank my brothers as well. Trey's over there, a little 8-year-old over there. He's my best friend, and my brother Chase. He's at college right now, but he's truly would do anything for me, and a genuine mentor for me in my life. And I'm not standing up here today without him. I want to thank all of my coaches and teammates and mentors. First, with my coaches, I acknowledged Coach Wheeler. I can call him Uncle Justin now, finally. You know, I've had to call him Coach Wheeler forever. But there's not a guy that I know that knows more football than him. He's taught me everything, and he's the backbone to my success on the football field, and the positions he's put me in throughout my career. None of it was possible without him, and I'm forever grateful for him. And you know, he's tough on me, and that's how a football coach should be. But at the end of the day, he's my uncle, and he loves me to death, and I do the same for him. So forever grateful for him and what he's done for me, and as well as Coach Ryan Listokey's here today. I've known Coach for forever now. He's coached me since I was in 2nd and 3rd grade, and you know, he's someone that you can always go to, always talk to. You know, we've grown our relationship in so many ways, and have such a core group of, you know, me and Torian and Tyson being seniors this year and being with him. It's truly a special run that we had with him. I want to thank my teammates as well, those before me and those who played with me. I'm not standing up here earning the scholarship without guys like Patrick Haig and Carson Kiesewetter and people like that I saw as a freshman and wanted to follow their footsteps and be the same athletes they were. And then also the guys that I played with when I came up as a junior and senior, my brother, Tyson and Torian, like I said, Hamilton Gates, I mean, countless athletes that I can name. So many good people around me at Bishop Guilfoyle. And like I said, I'm not here without them. I wanted to say, you know, I was here 2 years ago, and I was at this beautiful ceremony, and I made a goal for myself to be able and sit up here and earn the scholarship, and being able to do that is a full circle moment for me. So it just kind of shows everything has done for me, and all the people that have been around me to help me succeed. It's truly special to be here today. And I want to congratulate everyone that's being inducted into the Hall of Fame today, and I want to congratulate Zay as well. Me and Zay, it's actually really cool. I've known her since elementary school, and she's an incredible person, athlete, and she probably helped me out with a lot of my 8th grade math homework back in the day, and she's probably why I'm here. So I want to thank her for that as well. So thank you, everyone.
I want to take a second and acknowledge the 2 scholarship winners from 2025 that are with us tonight. Eli Muthler from Central and Allie Little, if you could stand up and be recognized. Please join me in congratulating Zay and Jake and Eli and Allie on their incredible accomplishments. We wish you the best as you start your college careers. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Corey and Reliance Bank. How about a nice hand for these two again? Let's give it up for them. I'm so impressed. Jake, you had to follow Zay. That's not easy. When you came out, I said, good luck. That's what I told you. And you delivered. You both were outstanding. And that makes you feel good, looking at young people doing this kind of stuff. It's incredible. So best of luck in your futures. The other thing I noticed, I don't know if you saw this, Neil, they had iPhones out here. Yeah. I could not even read the font. It's so little. I have big. You should see my phone. It's terribly big, but that's the other thing. I wish I could have that eyesight. Best of luck in all your careers. We appreciate it. Next on our list, ladies and gentlemen, is our Lifetime Achievement Award. We're very happy to have with us a man from Blair County, but also ended up in Kansas City, where if you don't know, you'll see he's got some Super Bowl bling to show you. here tonight. And our presenters will be on video and introduce our award winners tonight. So who better to have present our Lifetime Achievement Award than the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, Clark Hunt.
Evening, everyone. Tonight it is my honor to introduce this year's recipient of the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievement Award, Bob Moore. To be honest, I can't imagine a more appropriate recipient for this honor, as Bob's success truly spans a lifetime. Bob's career in sports tells an extraordinary story, not just of success, but of service, character, and lasting impact. He began his career in collegiate sports at his alma mater, St. Francis. His knowledge and skill were undeniable, and he soon found himself in professional football. While working on the USFL, he connected with Carl Peterson, who later went on to become the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs. And in 1989, Carl knew exactly the right man to bring on board as the director of public relations. Here we are today, almost 4 decades later, and Bob continues to play an integral role in our organization. After 21 years as the director of PR, Bob became our team historian, just the second in NFL history. In his current role, Bob hasn't just preserved history, he has shaped it. From building the Chiefs Hall of Honor, to preserving the archives of the American Football League, to producing documentaries and chronicling the legacy of one of the NFL's most iconic franchises. Bob has become the living memory of the Kansas City Chiefs. But what makes Bob truly special isn't just what he's accomplished, it's how he goes about his work. Bob Moore set the standard for professionalism, humility, and integrity. He treated everyone with respect, from executives to interns, and he built lasting relationships along the way. On a personal note, I'm especially grateful to Bob. In the early 90s, Bob introduced me to my wife, Tavia. And now, after more than 32 years of marriage, I really cannot say thank you enough for that. Bob, you've been a tremendous asset to the Kansas City Chiefs. While you remain focused on preserving our history, I hope you know that you are an integral part of that history as well. From Blair County to the National Football League, Bob Moore represents what lifelong dedication looks like to community, to history, and to people. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce the recipient of the 2026 Lifetime Achievement Award, Bob Moore.
I'm sure you all think now that the only way to get ahead is to introduce the owner of an NFL franchise to his wife. Let's hope it was more than that. But at any rate, my thanks to the committee and my congratulations to all the honorees tonight. I would hope that many of you who know me from this community where I grew up know that I never wanted to be someone bigger than myself, but I did want to be worthy of the men and women that I admired and the people who set the course for what became my professional life. And so to that end, let me thank a few people. Chuck Newman of the Philadelphia Inquirer, Miles Tannenbaum, the first professional sports owner I worked for. Certainly Carl Peterson, as Clark said, who probably more than anyone made it possible for me to have a professional football experience and career. To Marty Schottenheimer and Dick Vermeil, the two finest coaches I worked with over my career. The three college friends, Art and Jim Hunter and Dave McGarity, who have been with me through all the highs and lows of my life. To Dr. Dennis McElnay, a member of this community who taught me a great deal about public relations. To Pro Football Hall of Fame honoree Rick Goslin, from which I learned very much about the world of professional football. And to my close friend Bob Gretz, who I've known since he covered St. Francis basketball for the Johnstown Tribune Democrat, and later we ran into each other as we worked together when he covered Chiefs football for the Kansas City Star. The committee VP, Lisa Georgiano, always promoted me in my hometown, and to my good friend Suze Egan, who did likewise. And finally, the two newspaper men who never forgot what a local newspaper was for, to cover local sports and local sports figures, Neil Riddell and Jim Lane. Carl Sandburg wrote, Nothing happens unless first a dream. And while I believe that dreams and dreaming have probably caused as much harm as they've done good, I'd be less than honest if I didn't say, like any boy growing up in Altoona in the 1950s and 60s, I dreamed of sports and a sports career. But the sports heroes I admired had virtues and capabilities beyond those of an average boy like me. My desire to emulate them was very great, but I never succeeded in approaching their high standards. But what I learned was that even the average, the ordinary, can find success, and even the fearful can achieve things, and it didn't necessarily have to be on the field of play. Let's be honest. The closest I was going to get to any field of play was going to be the sideline, the press box, and if I worked hard enough and learned the business, perhaps the front office of a professional sports franchise, which is where I settled. Football in Kansas City and in Philadelphia, where I did my work, was more than a game when I was there, and I was lucky to be part of it. The great sportsman Edward Bennett Williams used to call this life contest living, living for the games and their outcomes, and then no matter what the outcome, preparing to do it all over again, except better next time. If you work in sports, as everyone up here has, you certainly find out that every year is a new one. Every season is new. And that's the way sports is in this country. It runs on a natural cycle, natural annual cycle. For some people, it fades with age, but for me, the past remains a vivid panorama, a source of revelation and anxiety. The victories are there, but so are the heartbreaking defeats. And along the way, I've been able to gather a few honors, realize some modest success, work with some of the great players and coaches of my time, many of them who I still continue to have relationships today. I had a particularly wonderful wife who was like another PR person for me, and I can't tell you how much important that was to making my career very successful, as was my daughter, who has been our life. I've had wonderful parents who grew up in this community and lived here their entire lives. Each of us on this dais tonight and in the audience has had to find their own path. Of that, I'm pretty sure. Some of those paths will be noisy and exciting, and others peaceful and quiet. No one can say which is the better. For me, the most rewarding moments have not been the most obvious. The Jaffa Mosque on a cold winter's night with my father, the slap of a basketball on the old mosque floor, the smoke from thousands of barbecue grills outside Arrowhead Stadium as the Chiefs claw their way back to respectability after years of disappointment, the jubilation of a humid night in Tampa after our first USFL championship. The arms of my daughter wrapped around me as confetti fell from the sky in Miami as the Chiefs realized their victory in Super Bowl 54. And finally, tonight, back here, where it all began. Thank you so much for this evening and for this recognition.
Beautiful job. Awesome. Beautiful job. It comes naturally. Congratulations, Bob. Well done. You can see why he's successful at what he does. You can also see why people don't like the Kansas City Chiefs, because you win too much. People around here don't want to play Kansas City. Although congrats on all the rings and all the success you guys have had over there in KC. Next is our first inductee of the night, and we're going to ride the two-lane green wave on this one. And his presenter tonight is a longtime community fixture and former coach. Please welcome Tony Lepore.
Good evening. I'm here to introduce you to George Geishauser. George Geishauser was an outstanding athlete at Bishop Guilfoyle High School and a graduate of 1977. George led BG in rushing and in scoring for 2 years, his junior and senior year. George had an outstanding senior year where he was all-state running back, he was a diocesan all-star, and he was even selected to participate in the coaches' all-star game during the summer of 1977. George received offers from Division I and Division II schools. He had his heart set on going to Brigham Young University, but for some reason things fell through and Brigham Young stopped recruiting him. So George just waited to the All-Star game, hoping that there would be recruiters there to see him and see what would happen. George performed very well. He scored 2 touchdowns in the All-Star game, and he played an excellent ball game. The recruiter in the stands wanted to talk to George. So the next day, he gave George a phone call in the morning and asked George if they could meet during that afternoon because he was leaving town that night. And George said yes. And they met and they were together, and the rest was history. George got offered a Division I scholarship to Tulane University. And by the way, the recruiter was Altoona's own Wayne Buddy Geis that gave George that offer. George left for Tulane. He was a 3-year letterman and 2-year starter. His junior year, he was a cornerback starter for Tulane. They had an excellent team that year, and they were accepted to play in the Liberty Bowl against Penn State University. The last year for George, he was switched position-wise to strong safety to help the defense out, which he did. He was very good at that, and he succeeded, and they were invited to the Hall of Fame Bowl where he participated against, Arkansas. George's dream was to get into the NFL. He didn't get drafted, but the next best thing happened. He was signed as a free agent by the Oakland Raiders. George participated in all the Oakland Raiders exhibition games. When it came to cut time, George was released by the Raiders, and he was the last defensive back to be cut. George made a decision to hang up his cleats and go home and start a career and a family. He came back to Altoona. He got a job with a Fortune 500 company. He excelled at that like he did on the football field. George won their most prestigious award, the National Salesman of the Year. It is my great privilege and distinct honor to present to you for induction into the 2026 Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, George Geishauser.
Wow. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely honored with my selection into the Blair County Hall of Fame. I'd like to start by congratulating the other inductees on their outstanding careers. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee and all my friends and family that are here to support me. I'd also like to thank Coach Lepore for that wonderful introduction and all of his guidance in high school. I needed it. A special thanks to the person who nominated me and made this night possible. I'm not quite sure who that is, and I didn't want to ask any questions because I didn't want them to change their minds. I think it's important to have role models in your life. My first role models were my mother and father. They were both very hard workers, teaching me what hard work and true character was. My father was a German immigrant, and he had elite speed. He ran in a pre-Olympic qualifier for his homeland at the age of 16. I wish my mother was here. She would tell you. My dad's not the only one that we got our talent from because she happened to be a really good catcher on the neighborhood baseball team. My other role models were my 3 older brothers. They each had unique qualities. Bern and Bob were both very smart and successful. They taught me a lot of useful things that I used my whole life. Tom, who was 10 years older, excelled in sports and was honored a few years ago with his induction into this prestigious Hall of Fame. He was a senior in high school when I was in 4th grade. Going to his games in high school and college inspired me to do the same. My goal, freshman year in high school, was crystal clear. I wanted to earn a Division I football scholarship. Well, high school was very stressful. I wanted so badly to succeed and follow in my brother's footsteps. We didn't have states or district games back then. We played 10 games, so every game was crucial. Teamwork was very important in achieving my goal. When the team succeeds, we all succeed. Our teamwork, along with great coaching, produced a great team. A lot of my teammates went on to play college football. I was blessed, and I was recruited by several colleges, and I visited 5. 2 trips were out west. Arizona State was a top 10 team at the time, and BYU was also another top 20 team. After visiting 3 more schools, I quickly signed with Brigham Young. I loved the Rocky Mountains, and they were also going to let me play running back. Well, long story short, things fell through at BYU, and they ended up pulling their offer very late. I wasn't sure what to do. All my other scholarship offers were gone. Fortunately, a priest, friend of the family, the late Father Flynn, knew Buddy Geis, who was in his first year coaching at Tulane, and he told him my situation. Lucky for me, I played in an all-star game the last week of July, and Coach Geis came up and scouted me. I had a really good game, and he signed me the next day. College was very challenging. I was 1,100 miles away from home, and Tulane was in the deep south. No cell phones, no internet, and 1 call home to my parents on a weekend. I wasn't recruited, so none of the coaches knew of me. And one obstacle I had to overcome was I said New Orleans instead of New Orleans. And I also had to get used to saying y'all instead of yins. I fought through injuries my first couple years, and I had to wait for my opportunity to play. My brother always told me that the time to win your position is in spring practice. Well, my opportunity came my 3rd year when our starting cornerback graduated. And I knew this was my time to seize the moment. I outplayed the guy that they had penciled in to start, and I had a great spring season. I earned the Most Improved Player award that spring, and they even called me the Cinderella Man in one article. I started the next 2 years. I can still remember the day I got moved to first team. We were in our breakout meetings, and the coach announced that there would be a position change. He said, Geishauser, your first team right cornerback. I was really excited. And one of the best calls I ever made was to my father later that day. And I told him, I said, Dad, we did it. We made first team. And I expected to see him at the LSU game, next LSU game. My professional career was short-lived and cut short by the NFL player strike in 1982. I played in the preseason games, and then the strike hit, and no games for 7 weeks. I cherished my time with the Oakland Raiders, and I got a bunch of Raider stories. One I can tell tonight's a funny one. There was a club that the Raiders would all go to during summer camp. Mark Van Egan was a fullback at the time, and he had an air hockey tournament set up. You played with a partner. My partner was Jack Squirick. He played linebacker, and he made an interception in the Super Bowl the following year. We played Lyle Alzado and John Matusak. The twos is what they called them. Well, we were beating them pretty good. It was like 13-5, and the game was up to 15. All of a sudden, Alzado comes over to our side. He puts me in a bear hug, and the twos proceeds to grab the puck and knock in 10 straight goals. And they beat us 15-13. And we're like, hey, what's up with that? And so there was a bunch of crazy rules scribbled on the blackboard that we never read. And the twos says, you guys didn't read the last rule. And sure enough, we looked over, and the last rule in very small print said, no rookies were allowed to win. So in closing, I'd like to say that I had some truly memorable football experiences. I played against top talent in college. I played against Clemson the year they won one of their national championships. I played against top LSU teams in our yearly rivalry games, and we beat them twice. I played against 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of my time, John Elway and Joe Montana. I was fortunate to coach the junior high team at BG for over 10 years. I was also privileged to coach with my son-in-law, Corey Husted, this past season, and we won the league championship with my grandson, Henry. I have a great wife, Beth, and we've been together since our sophomore year in high school, nearly 52 years. And they say it couldn't be done. She was a cheerleader then and my number one cheerleader my entire life. Beth gave me 3 awesome kids, Ryan, Katie, and Tara, all outstanding athletes and parents. Katie and Tara were both Lady Marauders and part of that legacy. Ryan had an outstanding football career at BG and went on to start 4 years for Mansfield University. Together with their spouses, Megan, Corey, and Thad, made me a proud grandfather 7 times. Ladies and gentlemen, my Hall of Fame induction is the greatest athletic award of my life, and my family is the greatest success story. I call it the home team. Thank you very much, and I'll cherish this night forever.
Congratulations, George. What a great home team. Great grandkids are the best. That whole table over there. Go ahead, you applaud. You should do it. You should be proud. What a great story that is. Our next inductee is a lady who was the first lady from Blair County to be afforded a Division I basketball scholarship. And to present her, please welcome Sonny Consiglio.
Good evening, and it's a real pleasure to be a part of this event honoring Blair County former athletes, and especially Lori McConnell, who I'm here to present. And when she first asked me to do this, I was really impressed that she would come to me and ask me, and my mind went to St. Mary's Parochial School on Dutch Hill in Altoona, where I was fortunate enough to be a teacher for one of her teachers there for a couple of years, and really lucky, along with Bert Lear, to be one of her basketball coaches. And you could tell immediately from even those early years, Lori was meant to be a basketball player, and she was meant to be a point guard, and a good one. And I remember going through the parochial league schedules and the parochial league games, and they were so much fun, and they were so easy to coach, and especially she was, because she was almost a coach on the floor, even in 7th and 8th grade. And then to watch her develop and to watch her grow at Bishop Guilfoyle, where she did, the way she handled herself, the way she conducted herself, I don't think I have ever seen any athlete at any level play as hard as Lori McConnell played when she played basketball. She never took a play off. When they talk about 100% of the time, that was Lori McConnell. And she had quite a career at Bishop Guilfoyle for the 4 years there. And then she was rewarded with it all, with becoming the first girl in our area to receive a basketball scholarship, full scholarship to a Division I college out of New Mexico. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances, a medical situation at home with her mom, that kind of got disrupted a little bit. She found her home in Hoover, Alabama, where she is with her husband, and I know she does have a son, and she did an awful lot of coaching there. She has coached boys basketball. She has coached girls basketball. She's coached girls tennis. She even coached boys golf. And I guess the highlight of her career, I guess you could say, would be winning the 6A state championship girls basketball when she was coaching. And I understand she even coached the boys golf team to a 6A state championship. I am very, very happy to present Lori McConnell Elgin for induction into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame.
Mr. C, those kind words mean more to me than you will ever know. I've been thinking about this speech since Neil called me back in June. And if I'm honest, I'm much more comfortable in a pair of of basketball shorts and sneakers than I am standing up here speaking to all of you tonight. With that said, I am truly honored to be inducted into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. First, I want to thank the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame and everyone who thought enough of me to nominate me for this incredible honor. There are so many outstanding athletes that could be standing here, so I am deeply grateful. Bert Lear and Sonny Consiglio, thank you for sparking my love for basketball at such a young age. You taught me the fundamentals of the game and the importance of mastering them. You also taught me how to win and lose with grace and how to channel my competitive spirit, which, as you know, is no easy task. Dave Adams, thank you for pushing me out of my comfort zone every single day and for teaching me how to set goals and work tirelessly to achieve them. You were a tough and demanding coach, and at the time, I was probably too young to fully appreciate it. The discipline you instilled in me shaped not only the player I became, but the person I am today. Janet Wood, your belief in me, especially after I lost my mom at 20, changed my life. Thank you for inspiring me and for giving me the opportunity that ultimately launched my coaching career. Without you, my path may have looked very different. My family has always been my foundation. My parents and siblings supported and cared for me every step of the way. And today, to my husband Jim and my son Scott and my whole family, thank you for always being on my team. And to my former teammates and classmates, I'm sure my competitive spirit made me a little difficult at times during our school days, but I wouldn't trade those for anything. Lady Dutchman and Lady Marauders forever. Basketball has always been more than just a game to me. I reflect on my time as both a player and a coach. There are countless memories I carry in my heart, but there are two that I will cherish forever. The first memory involves my family. In 1999, Hoover High School hired me as the head girls basketball coach, and I was able to bring on my husband as my assistant. That January, during our very first season, our son Scott was born. Just 6 weeks later, our team was in the state championship game. Talk about pressure. Balancing a newborn and a championship game was no small task. We didn't win that year, but we grew, we learned, and we got right back to work. The very next year, in 2001, we returned to the state championship, and this time the ending was different. Hoover High School girls basketball won its very first state title. I will never forget that victory, but what made that memory truly special was sharing it with my family, coaching alongside my husband Jim, with our son in his arms. That is a memory we will cherish forever. My second cherished memory came after I retired from coaching high school basketball. But as we all know, coaches really never stop coaching. I found myself immediately back on the court coaching my son and his friends. In elementary school basketball leagues, that turned into AAU teams in the summer, and even after Scott decided baseball was his sport, I still coached him in church league basketball. Scott isn't here today because he's continuing our family's coaching legacy. So if you happen to see me checking Game Changer for his baseball score, know that I am one proud mom. In closing, when I reflect on my life, today becomes another treasure memory I will carry with me forever. Thank you again to the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame for this incredible honor, and congratulations to all of my fellow inductees.
Great job. So let me give you this card. I have an award. Great job. Wonderful speech there. And as Lori said, coaches never stop coaching. She's now a golf coach also. I was picking her brain a little bit about my swing back there, and she gave me some tips, and I feel better. So tomorrow I have a big match. I'll take advantage of that. I'll let you know the result. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a trip down memory lane. We're going to honor one of the best basketball teams ever to come out of this area, the 1995 and 1996 Altoona Lady Lions basketball team. We have a special video presentation. Two teams, back to back. Kelly Goodman Schaefer, along with Chris Peters, put together this nice tribute, so please focus on the video screens.
In Altoona, Pennsylvania, girls basketball isn't just a game. It's a legacy, a tradition, even a dream.
Oh, that was everything back then. That's as a little girl in the sport of basketball. That's all you wanted to be, was a Lady Lion. I remember going to games in elementary school with my dad, watching the Lady Lions and saying, oh, I just want to be a Lady Lion.
I feel like when you're a Lady Lion and you're under Art Tannehill, there's always pressure to do the best, to be the best, to be number one, to go to the state championship. So that pressure never let up, for sure.
And in the mid-1990s, that dream once again became history.
When I think of the two teams being inducted into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame this evening, I think of a Charles Dickens book, A Tale of Two Cities. But in this case, it's basketball teams, and the author, Art Tannehill.
The 1995 Altoona Lady Lions were built to win, a powerhouse roster with 5 Division I recruits, ranked among the best in the nation. And they had unfinished business, having settled for silver in 1994.
Coming off a tough loss in the state championship, we were definitely determined to get back to Hershey, and that was our number one focus.
It was probably the best learning experience that we could have, losing the state championship the year before, as hard as that was. We wanted to get back to Hershey in the worst way, and we wanted to win.
They responded the only way champions do, winning 21 of their final 22 games, in fact, averaging 65 points per night, and along for the ride, bleachers packed with students and buses loaded with fans.
Our atmosphere was fantastic. We packed the field house every night. The fans, I remember most about the fan buses. I mean, there were buses that came to the games, and we had as many fans at our away games as the home team did. Just a very supportive atmosphere and fan base.
When I tell them that we would take 1 to 2 coach buses to pretty much every single away game and pack a house for a high school basketball game, people are in awe. So it was just this part of the community and culture that everybody was around you and supported you when you were a teenager being a Lady Lion.
And in Hershey, the Lady Lions delivered.
A team that was expected to win the state championship game, and that's exactly what they did, defeating Allentown Central Catholic 54-37. Individually, Jessica Montrella became the 3rd player in Lady Lion history to score 1,000 points in her career. And in that state championship game, Jolie Summer joined that club, and she scored 5 points in the first 67 seconds to reach that plateau.
A state title, a mission fulfilled. But what came next, almost no one saw coming. The 1996 team had lost 5 Division I seniors, lost its headlines, and lost its expectations.
I just didn't think they gave us, a chance, and I knew we had a chance because I knew what our team was. We had a great team. We played together for so long, and I just knew. And we've had the experience of being in the state championship 2 years prior, and I knew we could do it.
When we got to this 96 team, and we started out, we were just unexpected. The kids did so many things so well.
From a 3-4 start to 22 wins in their next 23 games, the Lady Lions didn't just improve, they believed.
Logistically, our team, we didn't have the size. We may not have the shooters on paper that the 95 team, but I assure you that the 96 team, that we had as much heart and we had a lot of hustle. We went into the season with not much of expectations. A lot of people doubted us, but we didn't doubt ourselves, right? So I like to remind people that the 96 team was the team that was the in practice pushing the 95 team, even the 94 team. We played with them.
Then in the Western Final came the moment that would define a legacy.
We were down like, I don't know, 1 or 3 or one point with like 35 seconds to go. And I called a timeout. And I ran the play called special. If I could have taken a picture, everybody looked at me like, are you crazy? And Humbertson missed the shot. She's missed that shot every day in practice. And the kids come over and work that play, and Humbertson got that ball right in front of that basket and put that baby in, and we won the state title.
That was like amazing. That was just shocking. I remember I banked it too, and Art said that too, like she banked it in, and it, like, I don't know, it was just magical how we all worked together and we could read each other so well by then. We had been playing together for so long that we could read each other like a book. And I just think our timing was so skilled that made a huge difference.
Back to Hershey, back to glory, back to gold. Another championship. 2 years, 2 titles, one unforgettable run.
That time of being a Lady Lion was just a great period of my life. This era was built around passion and hard work, but it didn't just start then. It started even before then, growing up in the culture of that Art Tannehill built around being a Lady Lion and what that meant, not only to young girls at the time, but to the Altoona community, a part of just being part of this like champion-driven mindset.
It was an incredible atmosphere for 16, 17, 18-year-old girls to play, and incredible. I remember fan buses going to our away games, and many of those supporters, they knew we were going to beat the team by 30, 40, 50 points, but they still came and supported us. So I don't know that there's another place or too many other places in the country that had the fan support that we did at Altoona.
I mean, how do you like match that again? Like, it was so magical and just like an anomaly to do it 2 years in a row.
One historic program, 2 different teams, 2 very different journeys. One expected, one unforeseen, but together they tell a special story. A story of discipline, of sacrifice, of belief.
And so it was so expected and so unexpected in 2 different years. The kids were amazing. I mean, your group of kids were just amazing.
Unknown to us at that time, this would be the end of an era, as Coach Art Tannehill would later announce his retirement from the Lady Lions to take over the boys program. That was 30 years ago, and Altoona's last state championship game.
Looking back at it, retrospect now, it means so much more than it did at the time. And, my grandfather always said, you're going to appreciate this after the fact. And he was exactly right.
The years playing as a Lady Lion were unforgettable. The community that followed us, the businesses that supported us. I mean, it was just the times, the field house being packed with maroon and white, getting hit by Hershey Kisses, going into the state championship game. Memories that, those are unforgettable.
2 teams, 1 legacy. Forever champions. Congratulations to the Altoona Lady Lion basketball teams, 1995 and 1996 state champions, and welcome into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame.
What a ride. Hershey Kisses everywhere. And now we ask members of those 2 teams to be over here right to our right. And who better than the longtime voice of the Lady Lions here, Ken Mayer, to make some announcements. Come on down, Ken.
I'm so happy to be here in this position this evening. And there's some players and members of the team that are not here. Before we announce those that are here, I'd like to recognize those individuals. The ball boy, Justin Slepp, not here. Rachel Beers-Lecker, ball girl, not here. Tammy Carney Cooley was a manager, and she's not here either this evening. The players that are not here include Carly Klein, Christine Slepp-Inman, Stacy Brynick, Wendy Taylor Safern, Tia Peretta, and Jessica Montrella Cronin. And so now I'm going to call them up one by one to recognize these members of the team that are here this evening. The first, the ball girl, Megan Bradley Hooper. The manager, Jamie Millward. Representing Heather Mile, who passed away, is her sister, Stephanie McGinnis. Tara Amorosa. Robin Steen. Terry Shore. Michelle Curran Morning. Dr. Christy Coral Smith. Heather Melnick Leitner. Jessica Yingling Martz. Devin Musselman Little. Karen Lenhart Dopp. Kelly Mayer Jacobson. Deanna Jubeck. Tracy Tyler Taylor. Kim Stetter Hammond. Jill Humbertson Warren. Courtney Kaup. Michelle Lenhart Rendazzo. Jill Bartley Helsel. Krista Thomas Ream. Julie Summer Leach. Assistant coach Amy Folkler Palfy. Assistant coach Jenny Moran Wilson. And the man, Coach Art Tannehill.
Way to go, Coach. Great job. How about a nice hand? One more time. Let's hear it. You don't see memories like that too often. Back to back, two different teams, same result, champions. Neil just told me that Tara Amoroso flew in from France to be here. How about that? That deserves a round of applause too. Part of the team. Awesome. Wow, what a story that is, and congratulations, ladies. That's an outstanding job. So we continue now with another basketball star, went to Duquesne University, and now she's coaching teams to champions, Christy Little-Cack. And to present her is a Penn State legend, Olympian, and someone you know very well, Susie McConnell-Serio.
Hello, everyone. Congratulations, Christy, on this well-deserved honor. When I was first hired at Duquesne University in 2007, it was Christy Little's junior year, and I was so excited to be the head coach, yet nervous about what I was getting myself into. But during our first team workout, I knew immediately that we had ourselves a special point guard, one that we could build our team around. Christy was so impressive in her work ethic and set the tone right from the beginning. Her speed, her quickness, and being such a fierce competitor set her apart. Our system was built around Christy. She was a difference maker on both ends of the floor. I wanted the ball in Christy's hands. She was our leading scorer, our playmaker, and our best defender. She was the heart and soul of our team. She made everyone around her better. And after her junior season, Christy earned third team all conference and was the defensive player of the year in the Atlantic 10. So motivated in the offseason, Christy worked extremely hard to elevate her game and become even more of a three-point threat. And in her senior season, Christy earned first team all conference and again was the defensive player of the year in the Atlantic 10. Christy's name is all over the Duquesne record book and was inducted into the Duquesne Sports Hall of Fame in 2015. As good as Christy was on the basketball court, I believe she's an even better person. For us, she was the total package. She was a great student, a great teammate, an outstanding leader, and a role model for girls of all ages. Now, Christy is an amazing wife and mother to Adam and her 4 boys. She is an outstanding coach, and the young ladies of Bishop Guilfoyle are lucky to be coached by Christy. It's no surprise she has been so successful winning district and state championships. Christy Little is a winner. And at this time, it is my honor to present Christy Little CAC for induction into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame.
I'd also like to start with agreeing with Lori that I'm also much more comfortable in shorts and a t-shirt and sneakers than I am here tonight. But I'd like to start by congratulating my fellow inductees and thanking everyone involved in selecting me for this honor. As I stand here tonight, I'm incredibly humbled and grateful for where basketball has led me. I'm especially thankful to my parents for always encouraging me to believe I could achieve anything. First and foremost, I'd like to thank God. My parents always preached that He gave me the athletic abilities, but what I chose to do with them was up to me. As soon as I started walking, I was shooting at a Fisher-Price hoop. There were some very competitive one-on-one games in my living room between me and my 2 sisters. Looking back, I'm thankful we didn't have a no ball in the house rule. I began my basketball journey with my cousin Julie. We were 2 months apart, and my dad, Todd Little, and my uncle, Kyle Little, coached us growing up. Anyone who watched them coach probably thought they were insane, and Julie and I can confirm that they were, but my passion, work ethic, and commitment came from them. Every family get-together at Graham and Pap Little's ended in their driveway at their hoop, and if you know the Little family, that competition was fierce. I have many coaches I'd like to thank along the way. Mr. Smithmeyer and Mr. Smith from my days at Roosevelt. My high school coaches, Craig Long, who still continues to support me as a coach today, Jill Helsel, and Roger Fair. We were fortunate to make back-to-back trips to the Western Finals when I played at Altoona. While we never made the ultimate goal of a state championship, it fueled me to work harder in the off-season before I entered my collegiate days. I'd also like to thank Tom Palfy for filling the stands with students during my years at Altoona. We played in an incredible environment, and he was a big reason for that. His family also became like family to me. I spent many nights after basketball games playing with his kids on the Altoona floor, which are some of my favorite memories. I had the privilege of playing under 2 coaching staffs at Duquesne, Dan Durkin, Tanya Gardner, Mike Islino, and Doug West. Having the hometown connection with Mike and Doug for my first 2 years was really special. Doug would show up at 4:45 a.m. conditioning workouts with a huge smile on his face, and we all hated him for it, but his love for the game was contagious. Mike was one of the most competitive and driven people I've ever met, constantly pushing me to be my best, and he helped me reach my full potential. When the coaching change happened, I had the opportunity to play under a women's basketball legend, Susie McConnell-Serio, and she lived up to her name. She instilled in me an even deeper love for the game and a desire to get better every day. She's also a big reason I wanted to coach after. Alongside her were Dan Burt, Blaine Patterson, and Tasha Butts. That staff poured countless hours into building Duquesne women's basketball. We earned the program's first ever trip to the NIT and helped lay a foundation I'm incredibly proud of. Along with my coaches, I'd also like to thank Dan McAllister and Melissa Ebig. As my athletic trainers at Altoona and Duquesne, they played a vital role in keeping me healthy and on the court. And to all my teammates and fans along the way, thank you. Basketball is a team sport, and I wouldn't have achieved this without you. In my long list of family, I'd like to start with my grandparents. Grandma Pat Noon and Grandma Pat Little taught me my love for Jesus comes before anything, and they were incredible supporters. Thanks to Pap Little, I own every game from second grade through high school on VHS today. I have two sisters, Danielle and Katie. Danielle is my older sister, and we competed over everything growing up. She set the bar high, and that competition turned into a really special friendship. My younger sister, Katie, has been my best friend and #1 hype girl since day one. She was dragged to every game, went happily, and continues to be one of my biggest supporters in all aspects of my life. My parents are the most important people in my life. They've believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. They were my built-in rebounders, probably even when my mom didn't want to be. And they sacrificed so much to help my dreams come true. They taught me nothing would be handed to me, and my commitment and hard work would create my opportunities. It's incredibly hard to be standing here without my dad, but I know how proud he would be. Tonight is just another reminder of everything he helped me accomplish. I was proud to represent Blair County as a player, and I always knew I wanted to come back home and give back as a coach. I pray I can continue to give back to the game that gave so much to me and the community that supported me along the way. And I'm really sorry, I forgot my family and my tears. I want to thank my husband, Adam, and our 4 boys, Braden, Carter, Christian, and Miles, for being here tonight. Adam was my high school sweetheart, and he will admit that I could beat him in one-on-one until we reached our sophomore year of college. He knew all my moves by then. He has always supported my love for the game, and today we're fortunate to share that passion together as coaches in this community. To the young athletes, especially my 4 boys, dream big. There were people who told me I was too small, but the people I surrounded myself with never let me believe that. My favorite part about basketball is all the relationships I've made along the way. This game teaches us so much about failure, success, and how to handle both. Thank you again to everyone that had a part in selecting me for this honor, and I'm incredibly grateful to continue to represent Blair County. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christy. Great player, great coach, and a great mom. And those 4 boys are lucky. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we now move into something that I don't think we've ever done before. An official going into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame, is that correct? Officially official, yes. And I've had the pleasure of sitting next to Kathy, being here all night, and I've learned a lot already. Like, we still can't figure out what a catch is in the NFL. But she's done a lot of things on all levels of basketball, and it's only fitting that her presenter tonight is someone she knows very well. They're good friends, and he now has a prominent role at CBS. Gene Steratore to present Kathy Cronin-Beam.
It is truly an honor to be with you all this evening, and I truly wish I was there with you in person to introduce a woman who represents the very best of officiating, the integrity, the excellence, the courage and commitment it takes to be an official. Kathy Cronin-Beam. I first met Kathy in the late 1980s when I was just beginning my division or small college women's basketball officiating career. My late father was the assigning supervisor at the time, and for a couple of years, Kathy and I shared the floor together. They were amazing games and amazing experiences. We both were really young. I was really learning, and Kathy was already demonstrating what professionalism looked like. And it wasn't because she was loud, and it wasn't because she demanded attention. It was because she was steady, she was prepared, and fearless, truly fearless in the right moments. You always knew one thing about Kathy. The game was going to be officiated the right way. And her career quickly moved beyond those small gymnasiums. She advanced to Division I women's basketball, working multiple conferences, and she continued to distinguish herself through consistency and excellence. She was a 34-year member of District 6 in the PIAA. Her accomplishments are so many, it is difficult to list all of them. But some of those accomplishments are not only a 34-year member of District 6, but she officiated 6 PIAA state high school championships, 8 Division I conference championships, and she earned many assignments in the NCAA tournament. And in 1992, Kathy was selected as Official of the Year for the NFOA, a gigantic accomplishment. And those weren't just resume lines. Those were trust assignments. But what makes Kathy's legacy even more enduring is how she continued to give back after her on-court career had ended. She was an observer, an evaluator, and is still an amazing mentor. Beyond the assignments and the accolades, what I remember most is how she carried herself. She never sought the spotlight. She let her work speak for herself. She made her partners better. And when the gym got loud, as it often did, Kathy got quieter, more focused, more precise. In a profession where you're often noticed most when something goes wrong, Kathy built a career where games flowed, championships were decided by players, and when a whistle or a foul needed to be called, she made it. Fairness was never questioned when she was on the court. That's not just officiating. That's impact. That's legacy. And tonight, as we honor her induction into the Hall of Fame, we celebrate not only a remarkable resume, but we celebrate a standard of excellence. And Kathy, I know that Ted isn't with you this evening, at least not physically with you, but he is with you in spirit, and I pray that he is hearing me as I introduce you right now. I will tell you, there were many drives for me personally to State College through those wintry mountains. When I would get to the back of the loading dock and walk up the stairs and into the arena, and the first person I would see would be Ted. So Kathy, from those small college gymnasiums in the 1980s to the biggest stages in high school in the NCAA, you represented all of us with class and strength. And it is my honor and privilege to welcome you to the Blair County Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Jean, for those kind words. It was always a pleasure working with Jean. We had a lot of great times together. And I'd like to offer my congratulations to Dave, Lori, George, Christy, and Bob on their well-deserved honors, as well as the 2 Altoona High basketball teams and our scholarship winners, Zaylin and Jake. Congratulations to all of you. Good evening, everyone. I'm used to coming in the back door of the arena and going unnoticed. I come out before the game, do my job. The players got the cheers. The officials might get some boos. And I leave quickly and quietly and go home. Tonight, I feel incredibly humbled and honored standing here before you. I'd like to offer my sincere thanks to Neil and to Kathy Millward for all your help and to the selection committee for recognizing my hard work and dedication to the wonderful world of basketball officiating. I had the pleasure of working for 34 years actively running on the floor, and now 50 years in total, serving our talented athletes. I'd like to thank the Lord for the many incredible blessings that He's given me over the years. I'm eternally grateful for my wonderful family, my parents, Bill and Kay Cronin, my 5 brothers and sisters, Danny, Peggy, Terry, Sharon, and Eddie, and the entire Beam family, many of whom are here with me tonight. I'd also like to thank my many friends who are here tonight in attendance. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support and your encouragement and your love, especially over these last several months. I don't know what I'd do without you, and I love you all. I got my love of sports from my dad, who took me to games throughout each season to see the Phillies, the Eagles, and Big 5 basketball at the Palestra. That's where I found my love for the game of basketball. I played multiple varsity sports in high school and college, and in 1976, while still a student at Penn State, I began my basketball officiating career, thanks in part to then Penn State women's basketball coach Pat Miser and my first officiating mentor, collegiate official Joyce Sipple. One of the best things that I ever did was to move to Altoona upon graduation in 1977. Blair County has been my home for 49 years now, and I'm so very fortunate to be a member of such a wonderful, close-knit community. I joined the Gerald Spalding chapter of PIAA basketball officials here in Altoona, where I was graced with some incredible mentors. I'd like to especially recognize the late and highly respected Ron Rickens and Dave Heim Sr. as 2 of my most influential supporters and mentors locally. Both Ron and Dave helped numerous young officials hone their skills with their guidance and expertise, and I'm forever grateful to them both for taking an interest in me and guiding me as a young official. I was very fortunate over the years to work for some extraordinary collegiate supervisors who helped me through my career. I'd like to mention and thank just a few of them. Gene Sterator Sr., who hired me into the Tri-State Collegiate Basketball Officials Association. He was the father of Gene, who introduced me tonight. Edgar Cortado, who taught me more about the game than any single individual. He assigned me to many Division I games, conference tournaments, and finals, and ultimately got me the exposure and recommendations to the NCAA Women's Tournament. Without his mentorship and trust, I would not have been selected to work the 5 consecutive years in the big dance. That was a dream come true. To Owen Haddon, the PSAC supervisor of officials, I worked many years for him, leading to tournament selections and Final Fours. When I retired from active officiating in 2010, he hired me as the associate coordinator of women's basketball officials for the PSAC, in charge of assigning, developing, and evaluating officials, and running camps to identify and develop and hire new and upcoming officials. I was now able to give back to the game and the profession that I truly love. To Patty Broderick, the Big Ten supervisor, who knew me from many years of officiating and hired me as a Big Ten officials observer, and who recommended me to the national office in Indianapolis. There I was selected as one of 16 evaluators in the country assigned each year to the first and second rounds of the big dance. And to John Levinson, the current NCAA Women's Basketball Secretary Rules Editor and the NEC Supervisor of Officials. I'm grateful to have had these and many other great mentors, too many to mention, over my career. The thing that I am most grateful for throughout my career is the many, many lasting friendships that I have formed over the last 50 years in refereeing over 1,100 college games and over 500 PIAA games. My fellow officials are my teammates. Blair County is lucky to have some very talented and dedicated individuals who give of their time and service to officiate for our student athletes, charged with keeping the playing field fair for all involved. Chris Rickens, Dave Heim Jr., Sue Kavinsky, Skip Dry, Gary Zimmerman. There are just a few that are here tonight who have done an exemplary job and who I am proud to call my friends. Finally, the most wonderful blessing that the Lord gave me over my years of officiating was my husband, Ted. We met through refereeing after I moved to Blair County. We worked some high school games together and would often meet up with other officials to socialize and discuss recent game situations. Our friendship and mutual respect for each other grew into something much more, and in 1999 we were married. We shared 26 years of marriage together. Ted was the love of my life. When I got the call from Neil that I was going to be inducted, and I told Ted, he was absolutely thrilled for me. Ted was my biggest advocate. He always supported my career. Sadly, Teddy recently passed away in September, and I'm heartbroken. I wish you could be here with me tonight to share in this incredible honor. I know that Teddy's spirit is here, and he's here with me right now. He's enjoying this evening. He's my guardian angel, my best friend, watching over me. And my husband, Teddy, ladies and gentlemen, he is the ultimate blessing that basketball officiating has ever given me. God bless you all, and thank you for this incredible honor.
Wow, what a career. Gene said a lot of great things about you, and I can tell you all of it was very authentic. He cherishes the relationship he has with you. So I know that. And I know that your husband's very proud of you tonight. You're certainly welcome. And I always, like I said, when I talked to Lori, I asked about golf. So I was wondering about traveling in the NBA. Why don't we call it anymore? You've got to give me some advice on that. Like, people ask me all the time. I said, I don't know. Euro step, this step, that step. It's more steps than I can ever remember. Nobody knows. That's right. Next inductee, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who's coached for 58 years, 44 as a head coach. That's consecutively. He's got quite a resume. And here to present him is Christian Appelman for Mr. Dave Baker.
It's an honor for me to be a part of this great evening, and it's a privilege for me to introduce Coach Dave Baker for induction into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. Coach Baker was my head football coach at Williamsburg High School. He loved the game of football. He instilled that love of the game into me, my teammates, all the players that played at Williamsburg and at Central, I'm sure. I loved the practices. I loved the competition. I knew that each time I was on the field with him that I was going to learn something new about the game. He instilled a positive learning environment. And for those of us who played for Coach Baker or who coached with him, as I did too, he had a very unique way of explaining things. Very, very simple. It never complicated the game. And that allowed me to reach my potential. For example, he'd say, as I was his quarterback, he would say, now listen, make sure you throw the ball to the guy that has the same color jersey you have on. And that's pretty good. The little known story was he would say, he described once, Bellwood had a quarterback named Gary Ribick, who when he rolled out to his right, he threw right-handed, and when he rolled out to his left, he threw left-handed. And our question was, how are we going to stop that? And Mr. Baker said very simply, you know, if they play each down with only one football, we should be okay. Again, never complicating the game and kept it very simple. The one thing, though, that he did for me in playing for him and being around him for as long as I was, nothing but respect. Respect for officials, respect for fellow teammates, respect for coaches. That's the life lesson that I really learned from him, was the idea of respect and be consistent in the way that you respect everyone around you, coaches, players, teammates, officials, everyone. So I'm very grateful for that. I want to personally thank him for that. So congratulations to all the inductees. Have a great evening. And it's my privilege to present Coach Dave Baker for induction into the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame.
I wish to start by thanking my sons, their wives, my grandchildren, my family, friends, former players, coaches I coached with, and players that played for me, and my some college teammates are here. I am honored to have Christian here to present me tonight. I thank the committee for electing me and for organizing this evening. I am a Blair County guy, always. Nancy and I have been together for over 65 years, and everything we have done has been based in Blair County. Therefore, this induction means a great deal to me. I stand here before you because of the talents, the dedication, and achievements of the players, coaches, and staff of the Spring Cove School District, where we won 8 district championships in 16 years and advanced to the Western Regional Championship game 4 times. The success we had made my final years coaching high school football feel like we achieved goals that were near the upper limits of our abilities. I also value my 35 years at Williamsburg High School, where we were sometimes successful, but we always did our best to compete, and we did compete. One thing that gives me pride, and some of you will understand this, one time we went 23 consecutive years without canceling a JV football game because we didn't have enough players. That, I think, was an achievement at Williamsburg, if you understand Williamsburg. I refer to that because I have always admired the courage, determination, and perseverance of the Williamsburg players. Congratulations to all inductees, and have a good night to all.
Thank you, Coach. That's a long time. And did it with all sorts of humility. And I know the fact that you and your wife were together for that long, too, that's amazing to me. I think the over and under today in Vegas on how many long people get married is like 10 years. I mean, you went way over on that one. I admire that. I admire that from everyone who goes through that. That's awesome. So it brings us, oh, we still have keys. Somebody has a car. It's a Genesis car that was left downstairs. If you were in that room, you may not, okay. Come on down. You may as well take it. All right, we'll keep it up here. Brian, Vice President. So you knew that it was, you didn't panic at all before. You didn't want to come up here either, I noticed. So we didn't mean to, yeah. We didn't, well, go ahead. All right, Brian. We could have raffled. You probably, as a member of this committee, would like us to raffle that off. Well done, Brian. I thought somebody claimed them. I had no idea they were still here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, very honored to introduce your guest speaker tonight, because being involved in sports broadcasting is not an easy thing. It really isn't. It's especially not easy for women. It is now. There was a time when it wasn't. And our guest speaker tonight has had quite an amazing career. I mean, you can go through if you look in your book and see all the things she's done, but she's worked for just about every network and every capacity you can imagine. Sports Center for ESPN, NFL Live. She's covered the Rose Bowl parade. She's done New York and Boston marathons. She became the first woman ever to do play-by-play for the NFL for an entire season on Amazon. And I think that's pretty awesome, that would be, it's not an easy assignment. Pulled it off with class. She's doing this all while raising 3 kids at home. And it's amazing to me, all the people who do this have a regular job that they work a lot at and still raise kids. And we've seen plenty of examples of here tonight. Hannah, and we use this word pioneer, trailblazers a lot. And when you hear it, you normally think, oh, wow, that's how many years ago? She was somebody who came up, stepped up, and because she did so, it opened up doors for other people. And today, I know a lot of people, and we're very happy over the years to see so many young women get involved in sports broadcasting and do it very well. But it takes someone to make that door come open. And Hannah Storm has done that. She's been outstanding in her career. We're very happy to have her here in Blair County. So please welcome from ESPN, Hannah Storm.
Hey, you guys, Bob hasn't told anybody this, but it's his birthday today. Okay, can we sing, please? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you. Here, blow out there's your cake, just for you. That cake just for you. Happy birthday. It's so cool of you to be here on your birthday. It's so great to be here. Neil, thank you so much for asking me to be here. And the executive committee at the Blair County Sports Hall of Fame. It's been so much fun. I've met so many people. I got to hug the entire 2 basketball teams. It was amazing. Christy, Lori, Kathy, Dave, Bob, George, the Lady Lions, Zay and Jake. I mean, we've heard just so many inspiring stories up here, and congratulations to all of you. It's also my honor to be, I think I'm just the second woman ever to speak at this event, right? And with so many cool women being honored tonight, I love that. I mean, that's amazing. And can I be an honorary member of your community here? Okay, I've never been to Altoona, I've never been to Blair County. It's, you know what, it's a real sense of community. And when you and I were talking before tonight, you said that's what you're going to feel here. That is really what I feel. The same thing that makes sports so great, right? Like community and purpose and teamwork. And I know that you guys are really proud of where you're from, and rightly so. I totally get it. But for me, that's kind of always been a complicated question. So people, you meet somebody and they're like, where are you from? And so I say, well, I was born outside of Chicago in Oak Park, Illinois, but then I lived in Baltimore, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Louisville, Memphis, Atlanta, and Houston, and then college in South Bend, and then after that, Corpus Christi, Houston again, Charlotte, Atlanta again, New York City, and now Connecticut. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that question is. Why so many places? I mean, really, for real. So my dad was actually in sports management when I was growing up. He was a sports executive, so teams would fold or relocate. He would get a new job. We were always on the move. And when I was a little kid, when it wasn't a school night, I was allowed to go to basketball games. And the main thing that I will remember, and Kathy, you uniquely will appreciate this, was my mom yelling at the referees. I knew all the names of all the referees in the American Basketball Association because she played college hoops and she would yell at them and tell them that a player walked or that was a foul. So that was my major memory, along with, of course, all the fun and glamour of the games and Julius Erving's first wife, Turquoise. She was so beautiful. And I just remember, looking at everybody in the crowds and just being totally awed. And then, of course, at our house, we always had these stray players who would, be over for Thanksgiving or Christmas parties, or, we were always feeding them and had them around our house. And then, we lived through all of the great moments, some championships, and also really heartbreaking losses. So I really came to understand sports, I think, at a visceral level, not just as a team, but what it takes as a family to be a part of sports. So we were part of startup leagues, like the ABA. My dad was in the NBA, Major League Baseball, pro tennis, the WFL, really cool things like sitting next to Elvis Presley at a Memphis Grizzlies game. I mean, that was pretty cool. And then really not so cool things like people planting for sale signs in our yard when my dad made a trade that people did not like. So, going to so many schools, you can imagine what that was like, right? Growing up. And what it did is it kind of forced me to find my own communities. And it really thrust me into the world of performing. So I was like, all right, the theater, the track team, singing, cheerleading. I was not a cheerleader. I was our mascot. I was the Wildcat at my school. And those are all things that you have to audition for, and try out for. And so I learned this really valuable lesson early on to put yourself out there, right? Like, that's the only way you're going to be part of something. Like, take that little brave step, put yourself out there, don't be afraid to fail, and take chances. Now, that would come in handy decades later. And Bob mentioned it like a few moments ago. So a few years ago, I got a call from, of all places, Amazon. They wanted me to do play-by-play for NFL games. They wanted me to do an entire season of Thursday night football. Now, this is a career option that had never been there for a woman, right? It was unexpected, and I have to say, it was truly, truly terrifying. They also asked Hall of Famer Andrea Kramer to be my analyst, and honestly, we both almost said no. I had only done play-by-play of the WNBA and a little bit at Wimbledon, and she had only been like a sideline reporter. So we're texting each other during this call from Amazon, and the executive from Amazon said to the two of us, if you two don't do it, we're not doing it at all. We're just going to have a couple of men do it. And so immediately, text chain went back and forth. We have to do this. We must do this. Like, we have to take that leap. We have to do this. We have to put ourselves out there, because if we don't do it, no one's going to. And then how is anybody going to know that this is a viable career option for women, right? We wanted young women to see us and understand that this is something they could aspire to. So when it was announced, you can imagine Adam Schefter puts out a tweet, right, that this is happening. I would say not all of the reaction was positive, right? We got some comments like, go back to the kitchen where you belong, the really fun stuff like that. And actually, when I saw all of these negative comments, all of my kind of nervousness, like a weight just got lifted off of me, because I thought, some people out there are just really going to hate the idea of this. Like, I could do a great job, I could not do a great job, and they will think the same. I mean, like Bob's really close personal friend Taylor Swift says, right? Haters gonna hate, right? So I was like, okay, so why worry about those people, right? What we needed to do is just work our hardest, no problem there, and do our best and not let the critics win. And I knew that sports and football, it was not a secret language that only men could understand, right? That we could and indeed did do this. So we describe it as jumping off a cliff and holding hands, me and Andrea together. It was very challenging. It was very rewarding. We actually did 4 seasons of that. I know, is that crazy? It was under the radar, very under the radar, but we did 4 seasons. People in over 200 countries actually had the ability to listen to that alternate broadcast on Amazon. So it was really cool for us to think like, somebody somewhere in the world is listening to NFL for the first time, and they're hearing 2 women call the game. So we thought that was really awesome. Yeah. And then one of the nicest things that we heard came from a student at LaSalle. So our producer went there to speak, and we had all female production team too, and she played a clip of our broadcast, and she asked the students like what they thought, and this like male student said it just sounded normal, and that's what I hope for, that hearing women's voices in sports, that it just sounds normal, which it really does today. And putting myself out there wasn't the only thing I got from my young days of being a ham on stage and performing. When I got into the theater, I was shocked and surprised by the power of stage makeup. Yes. For me, in particular, stage makeup was truly transformative, and it opened up a whole new realm of possibilities for me, and here's why. And where's Eric? Eric is out there somewhere, my new friend, there he is. We had a good chat about this, because he and I are in the same boat in a lot of ways, right? We have something important in common. So I was born with a condition called a vascular anomaly. Mine was around my right eye, kind of up here and below. When I don't have makeup on, I look like someone hit me in the face. A lot of times it's referred to as a port wine stain, because it looks like somebody took a glass of red wine and kind of spilled it on your face, right? So you guys have probably heard that. My parents, of course, they thought I was beautiful and I was their first baby, and they concentrated on my dimples, not my birthmark. And what they said to me, and I think moms do tell kids this sometimes, that are born with these vascular anomalies and these birthmarks, that's where the angel kissed you before she sent you to me. Now, my parents, though, knew what was ahead, right? They kind of wanted to save me from being self-conscious, some of the heartache of having that look, when I walk around, like someone hit me in the eye. And there weren't really any, back then there was like no internet, no resources, the laser technology of today had not been developed. So beginning in 5th grade and then going into my teens, I went through all these crazy surgeries. I mean, some doctors tried to cut my birthmark, literally cut it out of my face. One doctor thought it would be a good idea to give me a flesh-colored tattoo over my birthmark. Yes. And the lasers back then that were around left 3rd-degree burns. So needless to say, it wasn't necessarily the results I hoped for. And years later, finally, in college, I had just had enough. I was just done, right? I wasn't going to do anymore. And I still get comments like when I'm not wearing makeup, like, who hit you? What happened to your face? That's a fun one. But I was really grateful to have parents that made me believe I could do whatever I wanted, even be in front of the camera. And that with hard work, I could accomplish my dreams. And so then when I was at CBS News at the early show, understanding the platform that I had to reach a lot of people, I took off my makeup. I did a story about vascular anomalies and the fact that 1 in 10 kids in the United States is born with a birthmark, and that they often go misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. And the surgeon that I met, who happens to be the best surgeon in the world, the most renowned, urged me to start a foundation and use my name. And that's what I did. And so I help kids get surgeries, kids who are much more severely disfigured, obviously, than I am. These are conditions that can cause you to lose your ability to breathe, to eat. You can lose a limb. You can have birthmarks on your brain. In some cases, you can even lose your life. So just like this incredible organization here, which I find so inspiring, I have a big event every 2 years, right? And I invite my community, all my buddies, I like all my sports and rankers and athletes and friends, and they sit down and they have dinner, just like the dinner we're having tonight. And we raise money, and we have done surgeries for kids all over the US and India and China and South Africa, the Republic of Georgia. And we just continue to change lives. So on a personal note, I just want to say, I really admire the consistency of what you've done with this event. And to do it for so many years, and I understand the hard work that it takes to have this kind of staying power. And I also really believe what my parents said about being kissed by an angel, right? Because there are so many everyday angels in our lives as we all come together to help other people. So, yeah. So I really like the way that my parents framed that, right? Like your birthmark makes you special, and that's what Eric's mom said to him as well, and she's here tonight. And my father would kind of continue to frame things that seemed like obstacles and reframe them in ways that made things seem possible. So like when I enrolled at Notre Dame, and thank you guys, like all of you people who, I guess we're kind of rivals to some of the people in here. You guys have been really nice about that. There's a couple of domers. I take no pride in the fact that the one domer I met tonight forgot his car keys and had to do the walk of shame up here. But anyway, I mean, come on. So I just loved going to those games as a kid. I loved being around sports. It was in my DNA. It was my life. I wanted to do something in sports. I mean, I did a talk show on campus at Notre Dame. At WNDU, I was a reporter at our local station. I would wait tables like in the summers and then work for free at the local radio station or TV station where we lived. And I had this like great tape when I got out of like my sports reporting and all my experience and all my resume, and I was ready to start my career as a sportscaster. Only one problem: women were not on the air as sportscasters. The women that we are honoring tonight, I think, can relate to this story, being the first to do a lot of what they did. They have paved the way, but quite simply, there were not women doing the job that I wanted to do. I mailed out my tape, my resume. Again, no internet, hello. Answering want ads, countless of them, receiving dozens upon dozens of rejection letters, because we got letters back then too, not email. I got a couple of interviews, and I was told things like, my audience will never accept a woman doing sports. I'll hire a woman over my dead body. My sports director won't work with a woman. And then the verbal, pat on the head of, why don't you just go into feature reporting, sweetie? But then, there was another booming voice beside me, and that was my dad. Hannah Lynn, he said, you may get 1,000 no's, but you only need one yes. And I was like, when you think about it that way, the odds against you don't seem so daunting, do they? He also pointed out that even though I wanted to go into TV, when you do the math, there were a heck of a lot more radio stations in the country than television stations. Good point. So I went down to a local radio station, made up a tape, doing news and doing sports and doing music, answered a bunch more want ads. I think our postage bill was running up at this point. Sent out a bunch more tapes. And then I got my first job as a heavy metal DJ. Yep. That's where I got my name, Storm. Hannah, Storm by the Sea. Our station was in Corpus Christi, Texas. It was C101. I did the 10 at night to 2 a.m. shift, playing Def Leppard, Quiet Riot, and Kiss back to back to back. By the Sea, by the way, was a little bit of a theater of the mind because we actually weren't by the sea. I mean, Corpus Christi was by the sea, but we were licensed in the middle of a cow pasture. Yes. So every night, when I drove there in my Toyota Tercel with my CB and I drove into work, I had to quickly open the gates into work, drive my car through, turn around and scare all the cows so that they would not get onto the property, run back out and close the gate without any cows getting into the radio station property. And when we went down, as we did often, when we lost power, I had to go up and crank the station, crank it up by hand. So very, very glamorous. And I just want to say, cows do not scare easily. They just do not. And neither did I. I really want to do sports. I made some tapes, answered some more want ads, I saw there was like a 97 Rock in Houston. That was like the big leagues. I saw there was an ad that they wanted like a person to do sports in the mornings and the afternoons. And I was like, all right, this time I'm going to get in the car. Drove up, found out where the station was, waited in the lobby. I mean, really bad security back in the day. I don't know, I don't know what they were allowing me to do. Asked the person at the front desk, can you point out to me when the program director, when he's leaving for the day? And I'm going to hand him my resume and my tape. Sure enough, and I was terrified, did it. Hi, Mr. Bobian. My name is, Hannah Storm. I work in Corpus Christi. Here's my tape and resume. And I got hired. So I think he liked it, right? I think he liked that little chutzpah. Again, like putting yourself out there, and it just kept happening again and again. And I went from there to working Astros and Rockets games part-time. I worked like morning and afternoon drive in the radio. I worked at night, Astros, Rockets. It was a full schedule, like 3 jobs at once. But I wanted to do TV full-time. And I eventually, still answering one ads, got a job in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a large part because they were launching this new NBA franchise called the Hornets. My TV station was brand new, so they were trying all these crazy things, and they thought, wow, wouldn't it be just a wild gimmick to have a girl do sports on the weekends? And so I'm thinking, you think it's a gimmick? I've seen this as an opportunity. And then they said, well, one really, really important thing, NASCAR, right? And I was like, what is NASCAR? Like, I actually, like, truthfully, I was like, I have no idea what NASCAR is. But again, not a secret language, right? With enough work, hard work, asking questions, grinding it out, pretty soon I was hosting half-hour NASCAR specials. I knew that like asking questions and doing research and rolling up your sleeves, you can pretty much learn anything. So facing down like kind of my own doubts, maybe those of others, that's been a hallmark of my experience, but sometimes you need a little assist along the way. You have your Michael Jordan story, I have mine. So the highlight of that first season was when a very popular Carolina native by the name of Michael Jordan made his pro debut in his home state. It was like a huge, huge deal. And the Hornets won the game at the buzzer. And I interviewed Michael Jordan both before and after the game. And as a young woman, I was not comfortable at all going in the locker room. I did not like doing that. But Michael Jordan treated me so professionally. He called me ma'am. He answered my questions thoughtfully and respectfully. And he is the first person, big star, that I remember making me feel like I was equal to my male counterparts. Because again, I was the only woman there. And I will always be grateful to him because as a leader, he really set the tone, right? And everybody else followed him, not just on that team, but on other teams. And I really do credit him as a leader for helping to make those locker rooms a more safe and respectful place for women. Sometimes also, you get the opposite. After Charlotte, I moved back to Atlanta, joined CNN as their first female anchor. I had to take a sports quiz before I was hired. Now, my husband, Dan, was hired a week later. Actually, that's where I met him. He did not have to take a quiz, but I did. What are the differences between the American and National League? My goodness. I passed my quiz and I got hired. Again, back in the day, I guess it's good there was no social media because all we really had was, in addition to mail, we had hate mail. Right? So I definitely got my fair share of hate mail, people who didn't want to see a woman talking about sports. And this was my favorite. So one man wrote me to tell me that I was pronouncing the name of Notre Dame incorrectly. It was really great. I wrote him back and I said that indeed I was using the commonly anglicized pronunciation of the school. It wasn't Notre Dame. It was Notre Dame, and then I signed it, sincerely, Hannah Storm, class of '83. And I thought that was a lot of fun. All sorts of crazy stuff happened during the World Series. Players stripped down and blocked my exit, wouldn't let me leave the locker room. That was great. A manager in front of the entire media, after I asked a question, said, "So you like baseball?" And then famously, there was a player who was having a really tough series named Albert Bell. I was doing a report from the dugout, and he wielded a bat and chased all the media out of the dugout, except for me and this poor little bat boy who was terrified, who was sitting behind me. And I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm going live on CNN. I'm not leaving this dugout." Again, you know what? Like, you just can't let anyone stop you from following your dreams, from doing the job that you are there to do. I went on to NBC. I became the first woman to anchor major sports coverage for a network. I did the MLB. I did the NBA. And during the NBA playoffs, a player whose name rhymes with Charles Barkley he told the media that as a woman, now I was hosting the NBA on NBC, okay? It was the Western Conference playoffs. He said, as a woman, I shouldn't be talking about professional basketball. Oh my gosh. And it was all over USA Today. It was all over the papers. And later, we had the NBA Finals, and Charles was our special guest. And I happened to be hosting halftime in the NBA Finals. And so Charles was sitting next to me. So he had to apologize, which he did. And then we were announcing a brand new league called the WNBA. And I turned to Charles and I said, "As a man, do you feel qualified to speak about women's basketball?" By the way, we are really good friends. I mean, we have been friends ever since that moment. One of y'all said that sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you don't realize like how special it is. I think you said that maybe like later in life, you realize that things are special. So a couple weeks ago, NBC had a broadcast, and it was a throwback broadcast. They brought all of us back, right? Like from the 80s, from this like great era of basketball in the NBA. So it was like Bob Costas and the Czar, Mike Fratello, myself, and Isaiah Thomas, PJ Carlissimo. It was so much fun. And so we were telling stories and things on the air and just reminiscing about all of these things. And one of the best ones had to do with then, back in the day, Knicks coach Pat Riley. So the Houston Rockets beat the New York Knicks in Game 7 of the 1994 Finals. It was Game 7. Dick Ebersol, who was the president of NBC Sports at the time, and we were going off the air. And Dick said, "You need to go to the locker room and you need to ask Pat Riley why he left John Starks in the game, who had gone 2 for 18 from the field, including 0 for 11 from three-point range." And I was like, "You're kidding me, right?" Like, Pat Riley was the scariest, most intimidating coach on the planet. They had just lost in Game 7, and you want me to go in the locker room and question his coaching decision? But once again, you do what you gotta do. We were literally going off the air. The camera light comes on. No one was coming out of the locker room. I mean, it wasn't coming out. I'm like opening the door and I don't see him. So I'm like going like farther in, and then I see like this closed door, and I'm like, I bet he's hiding in there with all the coaches. Sure enough, I opened that door. There's Riley sitting with the coaches, and I go, just so he doesn't kill me, I go, "Coach, we're live on NBC. Can I ask you a couple of questions?" And you know what? I thought he was, if I hadn't said that, I thought he'd probably use some really colorful language or else just kill me. But I asked him the Starks question. Classy guy, he answered it. And we went off the air, 3, 2, 1, we were done. And when I left and went back and saw my NBC colleagues, I got a nice little standing ovation, which was really nice, and I got to keep my job. And at that broadcast a couple weeks ago, I had several people ask me, what is the key to staying in this business? Like, been in since the early 80s. Like, what's the key to staying relevant for decades? And my answer is really simple. I think everyone here literally will agree with this. Find something that you love and work really, really hard at it. And as I was looking through your program tonight, took a peek through that, I came across this really great quote from one of your sponsors. And I think it exemplifies the honorees here and just all the people who made tonight special. And the quote was, "Success is not given, but earned through hard work, determination, and a relentless spirit." And if there's one thing I can give you guys tonight, man, you guys have a hell of a spirit. Thank you for having me. Just thank you for letting me be part of your family tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great job, Hannah. That was wonderful, truly inspiring, and I think that sums up what it takes to be successful. You can't let people talk you out of something you really love to do. And Hannah, you've done it well, and I'm amazed all the places you've been to and all the things you've done. And with regard to your makeup comment, I have to do my own now because our station doesn't pay for it, so sometimes I look like Tammy Faye Baker when I'm done with myself. It is not an easy, that's one of the hardest things to do these days. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a nice hand for all of our scholarship winners, our award winners. What a great class for 2026. Thank you to Neil Rudell for being a great job at doing this. And Bob, I want to know, are you going to the wedding? Taylor and Travis. Yeah. Well, I bet you are. You're going to write about it, I'm sure. I want to know all the details of that one coming up for Kansas City. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your support of this great Hall of Fame, and we'll see you again in a couple of years. Drive safely.